you see here is going to be on my Spreadshirt merchandise store. It's pretty much a place where you can go and get like t-shirts, or you can get like mugs or anything you want, like little bags too. So if you guys like this design, make sure you go check it out because I'm having fun. I was thinking about making more designs that are just original pieces of art since I rarely ever do that. So that's why I'm drawing this here. But that's not what I wanted to talk about today. Today, I actually wanted to talk about E3. If you guys don't know, E3 is like a place where people go to advertise their new game releases. Of course, when they go there though, the games aren't going to be released soon. Usually the games take years after being announced at E3 to actually come out. But I guess it's a way to kind of build hype for your game or your franchise or whatever it is you want. So it's fun to watch. It's a lot of fun to see it, especially if you're a gamer and you really like to see what sort of games are coming out. Though it can also be kind of sad if you don't have that many games you're actually into, because for me, I have a very particular type of game I like, and if it's not like that, I'm usually not very hyped for it. But anyway, E3 is also really fun to watch because let me tell you, okay, there can be a lot of cringy things that happen in live things. This is why people don't want to live stream. Me, for instance, is because when you're live streaming, everything you say can come off really stupid. Though I did live stream a couple times, and I know I was it was fun, but the fun thing about live streaming is that a lot of weird things can happen that you can never imagine in a video that's already well prepared before a time. Though as you can tell with my voiceovers, I do it all in one go, and then it's not really prepared at all, but you know what I mean. Anyway, on those things, there's always a lot of cringy things that happen, and usually they be turned into like montages on YouTube, and they're a lot of fun to watch. And it's like the most addicting thing ever is to sit down and watch all of E3, all of their live streams, and just from one to the other. It's a lot of time though. My family is obsessed with E3, and we always get together in order to watch the E3 live events, and there's a lot of live events, and they're usually for quite a few hours. So it's interesting to get together to watch them. This year we watched all of them. Normally we don't watch all of them. We normally only watch what we want to see. Like say, oh, we just want to see what Nintendo's doing, so we only watch Nintendo. But this time we watched all of it, so that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I love video games, though my video game opinion is probably different than a lot of other people's, because I know some of the games that a lot of people love, I may not love that much because my opinion stinks, and that's just how it is. But anyway, with E3, it started out with EA, and as you guys know, or you may not know, I don't know, a lot of people know this if you play games, is that EA is infamous for microtransactions, and that is the thing that was always in app games, like mobile games, it's like that. There's always lots of those, but it was never on console until more recently, and everyone threw a fit over that, thankfully, because it is kind of like gambling in a sense, and I would love to not have to pay, after paying like $60 for a game, have to pay even more for what's in the game. So it seems really weird, but you know, it may stop happening, because I noticed EA this time, they had to actually say they weren't going to do microtransactions. Then people would cheer, which was really weird to me, because it's kind of like, imagine someone shot somebody and then later they came back and like, hey, I'm not going to shoot anybody, and then everyone started cheering, and it's like, what? I mean, I don't know if you can trust them though, because who knows? I mean, hopefully they do stop the microtransactions, because then their games would be way better for playing. Though I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. Hopefully they do, because that would be great, because then you can actually play their games. But seriously, I wasn't really that hyped for anything. I came to E3 super hyped for Kingdom Hearts 3, because I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, and I wasn't entirely sure when those things were going to show up. I wasn't sure if they're going to show up in like Sony, if they're going to show up at Xbox, if they're going to show up at the Square Enix thing. I figured it was going to be only at the Square Enix panel because it's a Square Enix game, but apparently it showed up at Microsoft's, Sony's, and Square Enix, and that was crazy. I wasn't expecting that many different trailers. Like the first two trailers were pretty similar, but they did change things. And then Sony's trailer was entirely different. So I'm super excited for Kingdom Hearts 3, and that's my biggest thing that I'm excited for. Let me explain my type of game. It's really hard for me to get into a lot of games because I have this very peculiar ideal for what games should be. And my thing I really love, probably because I'm into art and I really like really vibrant, pretty colors. I'm not a fan of the dark, gritty, ugly scenes in video games, and that's really popular right now because of the whole zombie phase and all those things. Having everything dark and gritty is, well, it's been the norm for a while now, and I've never enjoyed those types of games because it's just ugly, and I like a game that's pretty to look at, and it's just so ugly I can't play the game. I don't know if anyone else is like this, where they just don't like ugly games, but that's just how I am. Like, I'm fine with dark, scary scenes or something like that, but it has to have a lot of atmosphere and a lot of, well done, make something like a horror film. But things like Call of Duty or most shooters like that, the games are usually just ugly, and that's about it. And that's the problem, is that I always like it to have lots of atmosphere and to, like, have good art design and like art direction, and most games don't have that, so that's usually a big problem for me because that's something that's really important to me. I also like games that, I know a lot of people make fun of this because those games are seen as dorky or maybe childish. It's things like Animal Crossing, Harvest Moon, Pokemon, things like that. I think those games are super fun. I think Pokemon's repetitive, and I wish they would change up Pokemon a bit, but I like games like that are relaxing. It's something you can just play, and they're super cute, and the art direction is nice, and things like Kingdom Hearts as well. I like Final Fantasy, but I didn't like Final Fantasy 13, but the new Final Fantasy I did like, so it's pretty back and forth on if I like Final Fantasy. Anyway, they announced a ton of different games, and a lot of them I wasn't very excited for. I was mostly hyped to see, of course, Kingdom Hearts and Nintendo. I'm always hyped for Nintendo, even though I have no idea what they're going to announce. I was pretty disappointed with the Nintendo panel because they pretty much, the only thing they announced that was a big deal at all was Super Smash Bros. And I never was a huge fan of Super Smash Bros. Simply because I never got very competitive with it, which I bet I could get more competitive with it now that I'm older. When I was a kid, I never did, but maybe I'll actually try competing at it. Normally I just mashed buttons as a kid, so that's what I remember. So I doubt that's what the game's actually like if you play it when you're older, but you know. And that was something that I was a little disappointed about, that was all Nintendo had. Though hopefully next year they'll have a lot more. Though I was excited for the new little Pokemon game, though it does look like they're still sticking with the graphics where you have to like walk in squares. I don't know how to explain it, but you know, hopefully Pokemon graphics will keep moving in the right direction, so it's not always that sort of top-down sort of style, even if it's on console. So I'd like to see something like that. But the thing is that with EA, with Bethesda, with Microsoft, the biggest problem was I felt like most of the games all looked the same. Like they all started looking like Destiny, like the Cyberpunk. What was the other one that looked like Destiny? There was one that, Anthem. Anthem, I think, looked a lot like Destiny, and it looked a lot like a lot of games. So it was really hard for me because a lot of the shooters and stuff like that, they all look the same, and I like games to really stand out. One of them that really stood out to me, Sony did really good, and I love their art direction. The Sony games that have such good art direction, and that's why I really like seeing what they have to say. And one of their games, what was it called? Let me see here. It was Ghost of Tsushima. And that game I thought looked gorgeous. Like all the trees were like red and pretty, and it was just really nice. And I was so excited about that because I normally don't like games like that where I'm fighting, but when it looks so nice and so impressive, it's hard not to want to try games like that. There are also the Death Stranding. That game looks so weird. What is that game? I am so confused by that game. Though, also, a lot of people are hyped for Spider-Man, and I don't understand why that is such a big hype right now because it looks a lot like the fighting styles in all the other Spider-Man games and stuff like that, so I don't know, but hopefully it's good. And like you guys know, everyone after every panel would start fighting about which panel won and who won the whole thing, so it's a bunch of fans screaming at each other about who won, and it's not pretty because console wars and stuff like that it's not pretty at all. People will literally take your head off over those things. But I personally think Sony I think Sony did the best. Microsoft did pretty good, but a lot of the games they showed were just like ones that were on all the other consoles as well, so it wasn't really exclusive. But you know, you guys will have to let me know your opinions on E3. I know this is a really weird video for me, but thank you guys so much for watching.